let's delve into one of the most intriguing enigmas found in the Bible: the identity of Cain's wife. You may have wondered, as many have, about the origins of Cain's wife. The Bible tells us in Genesis 4 verse 17, "And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch." This passage leaves us with a burning question. Where did Cain's wife come from? The Bible does not provide a detailed explanation, so let's explore the various interpretations and theories proposed by scholars over the centuries. The traditional interpretation: Cain married his sister. The traditional view, held by Jewish and Christian scholars for centuries, is that Cain married his sister. According to this interpretation, Adam and Eve were the first humans created by God, and all of humanity descended from them. This means that Cain's wife would have to be his sister or a close relative. The idea of sibling marriages might seem strange to us today, but in the context of the ancient world, it was seen as a necessary step to ensure the continuation of the human race. According to Jewish tradition, as mentioned in the Talmud, Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters, although only a few, like Cain, Abel, and Seth, are specifically named in the Bible. In the absence of other people outside Adam and Eve's immediate family, the early generations would have had to marry their siblings to propagate the human race. This notion is supported by Genesis 5 verse 4, which states, "After he begot Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons and daughters." Early church fathers, including Augustine and Irenaeus, also supported the idea that sibling marriages were acceptable and necessary in the early stages of humanity. They argued that Adam and Eve were created perfect, and their genetic makeup was uncorrupted, so there was no risk of genetic defects in their offspring. These early theologians believed that as sin entered the world, it gradually corrupted human nature, and the strict prohibitions against incest seen in later laws, such as those in Leviticus, were established to protect against these consequences. Cain's wife as a symbol of human society. Some modern scholars suggest that the lack of detail about Cain's wife in the Bible is intentional, focusing instead on the symbolic meaning of her story. These scholars propose that Cain's wife represents the spread of humanity, the consequences of sin, and the complexities of a world outside Eden. They argue that the story of Cain and his wife is not about specific individuals, but rather about the emergence of human society and the moral and ethical dilemmas that arise as humanity grows and spreads across the earth. This symbolic interpretation is rooted in the belief that the Bible often uses stories and characters to convey deeper spiritual truths and moral lessons. By leaving the details of Cain's wife ambiguous, the biblical narrative invites readers to reflect on the broader themes of human relationships, sin, and redemption. As such, Cain's wife becomes more than just a footnote in Genesis. She is a symbol of the human condition and the challenges we face in a fallen world. One and other stories. To gain further insights into the story of Cain's wife, we can look beyond the traditional biblical texts to apocryphal and pseudepigraphal writings. These ancient texts, which were not included in the canonical Bible, offer additional details and perspectives on the early chapters of Genesis. One such text is the Book of Jubilees, which is an important work in certain Jewish and Christian traditions. According to the Book of Jubilees, Cain's wife was named Awan, and she was indeed his sister. This text provides a detailed account of the early family dynamics, explaining how Adam and Eve had other children and how these siblings paired up to start populating the earth. By filling in the gaps left by the biblical narrative, the Book of Jubilees offers a more comprehensive picture of the early human family and the challenges they faced in a world that was still being formed. The Book of Enoch, another apocryphal text, does not specifically name Cain's wife, but paints a picture of a world that is much more complex and mysterious than what is described in the Bible. In this text, we see a world where angels fall, giants roam the earth, and human corruption runs deep. This backdrop provides a context for understanding the story of Cain and his wife as part of a larger cosmic drama, where the forces of good and evil are constantly at play. Similarly, the life of Adam and Eve, another pseudepigraphal work, offers a glimpse into the lives of the first humans after their expulsion from Eden. This text portrays the sorrow and hardship that Adam and Eve experienced as they struggled to survive in a harsh and unforgiving world. In this context, Cain's marriage to his wife, whether she was a sister or a symbolic figure, represents the human struggle to overcome the consequences of the fall and to find hope and redemption in a broken world. Ethiopian Christian traditions, a different lineage. Ethiopian Christianity, with its rich history and unique traditions, offers yet another perspective on the story of Cain and his wife. According to Ethiopian texts and oral traditions, the descendants of Cain played a significant role in the early human narrative, and some texts even suggest that Cain's wife was not a blood relative but someone from a different lineage altogether. This idea challenges the traditional view that all of humanity descended from Adam and Eve and suggests that there were other beings or humans living outside of their direct line. This interpretation opens up new possibilities for understanding the story of Cain and his wife, as it suggests that the world outside of Eden was populated by more than just Adam and Eve's descendants. In Ethiopian Christianity, there is also a mystical understanding of biblical stories, which embraces the mysterious and the unexplained. Some Ethiopian scholars have argued that Cain's wife represents a union between the mortal and the divine, a merging of two different realms. This interpretation suggests that Cain's wife was more than just a woman. She was a being with unique spiritual significance, one who played a crucial role in the unfolding of human history. Other humans before Adam and Eve. One of the most controversial theories about Cain's wife is the pre-Adamic theory, which suggests that there were other humans on Earth before Adam and Eve. According to this theory, Adam and Eve were not the first humans created by God, but were the first of a specific lineage, one that would eventually lead to the Israelites and the rest of humanity as we know it. This theory proposes that other human-like beings, or even full-fledged humans, were already roaming the earth long before Adam and Eve ever set foot in Eden. If this theory is true, then Cain's wife could have come from this pre-Adamic population, someone who was not directly descended from Adam and Eve. This interpretation adds a twist to the story and redefines how we understand the early chapters of Genesis. It suggests that the world outside of Eden was already populated by other humans or beings, and Cain's marriage to his wife was a joining of two different lineages, or even two different worlds. Proponents of the pre-Adamic theory argue that it helps to explain some of the other strange and mysterious passages in the Bible, such as the existence of the Nephilim, the giant beings mentioned in Genesis 6 verse 4. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Could these giants have been part of this pre-Adamic race, or the offspring of unions between pre-Adamic humans and the descendants of Adam and Eve? This provocative thought ties together some of the Bible's most enigmatic stories into a single cohesive narrative. Gnostic perspectives. In addition to the traditional, apocryphal, and Ethiopian perspectives, there are also Gnostic texts that offer a unique take on the story of Cain and his wife. Gnosticism presents a radically different view of Christianity, one where hidden knowledge, or gnosis, is the key to salvation, and where the material world is often seen as a prison for the soul. The Gospel of Philip, a Gnostic text, introduces the concept of syzygy, the idea of paired beings, male and female, who reflect divine truths. In this context, Cain's wife could be seen not just as his partner but as his spiritual counterpart, a being whose existence is tied to his in ways that go beyond mere flesh and blood. This interpretation suggests that Cain's marriage to his wife was not just about survival or procreation, but about the continuation of a cosmic drama, one that has been playing out since the dawn of time. The Gospel of Judas, another Gnostic text, portrays the act of betrayal not as evil but as a necessary step in the unfolding of a divine plan. Similarly, Cain's act of murder and his subsequent marriage could be seen as part of a larger cosmic narrative, one where every action, no matter how dark, serves a hidden purpose. These Gnostic texts suggest that Cain and his wife were not just historical figures but symbols of a deeper spiritual struggle, a struggle between light and darkness, knowledge and ignorance, divinity and humanity. The ongoing mystery of Cain's wife. The story of Cain and his wife remains one of the Bible's most enduring mysteries, a puzzle that has fascinated scholars and theologians for centuries. Whether we view Cain's wife as his sister, a symbolic figure, a member of a pre-Adamic race, or a Gnostic spiritual counterpart, her story challenges us to think deeply about the origins of humanity, the nature of sin, and the complexities of a world outside Eden.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.